What's going on, everyone? As always, I am so excited to be here. And yes, I will say that every time because I love what I do and I love bringing amazing people across the Navy and the Marine Corps to you. And today I get to talk about one of my passions, the Marine Corps, meaning I have someone very special, Johany Deal, like Let's Make a Deal from, from Marine Corps Syscom. How's it going, Johany?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on.
You're welcome. I'm pumped to have you here. Um, Johany, you are the director of contracts for Marine Corps Syscom. What we're going to talk about that because that is something that I don't think a lot of people that don't do contracts know what contracts actually do in the government. Do you get that often?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I do find myself kind of explaining it and getting it out there. What does it mean? And kind of how we fit into the picture.
Well, hopefully, with this conversation, people can learn more. And
Great.
and next time you get questions, you can be like, "Oh, just go check out this podcast episode."
Great. I will.
So, Johany, before we get into the contract side, let's kind of set the stage for our audience and tell them a little about yourself, who you are, where you came from, how you got started. Were you always was there a 6-year-old Johany that was like, "I'm going to do contracts one day"?
No, there wasn't. So, a little bit about me. I was born in Puerto Rico.
Oh wow!
So, the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. So, I'm excited to be born in a place where people vacation. Actually, that's what I call it. And when I was pretty young, my parents decided to come over to the States, and I grew up in Virginia, went to college in Virginia. And when I was doing my master's, talking about how I got into contracts,
Mhm.
one of my professors brought up the Navy intern program for contracts.
Cool.
So I was like, in my mind, because one of my passions was when I was younger, was to be a lawyer. That's where I originally wanted to go. And so I was like, well, that sounds like something that'll be close to like law and everything. And it was hilarious because I went into my interview like I was going into law school, which, yes, we do touch law. We do have to be familiar with laws and regulations. But now, years later, I think about it. I was like, they were probably sitting there like, what is this lady talking about? There's not law school. But I was very fortunate to get into the Navy intern program, as you probably have met a lot of people that are in contracts. That's how the majority of us get our career started in contracts. And I got picked up and went over and moved to Patuxent, Maryland to support the Naval Air Systems Command there. And the majority of my time there, I supported POA, which is a lot of our aircraft, helicopter programs. And that's when I got my introduction to some of the Marine Corps programs when I supported them. So I was there for quite a few years. And then, as many of us sometimes probably have felt or have experienced, some family stuff came up, which then we had to make a decision to move back to Virginia. And during that transition, I was then moved and started working with the Missile Defense Agency. So I spent about 3 or 4 years there. And during that time, then came the opportunity to come back into the Navy Marine Corps family, which I was really excited to do.
Welcome back.
And yay! And got the job in Quantico supporting PO Land Systems as their lead contracts person, their assistant, or my title there was Assistant Procurement Executive Officer for contracts. I spent about 3 years there, and an opportunity came for the command for the Director of Contracts. And I went for it, and I was selected to now be the director, which I'm very lucky to be over 200. And I believe now we're up to like 248 contracts professionals that we have within the command. So very excited.
That's fantastic. And I appreciate the story and kind of where you came from. And the lawyer side kind of sounds contract-y. It's a different kind of contract, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You're not too far, I guess, than where you were as a kid.
Yeah, I know. That's what I tell myself. I didn't go too far off because I still need to know some of this stuff. But I find it's so hilarious because that interview, if I would have recorded that, that would have been funny to watch because I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer somewhat. And it was funny.
That's excellent. So we also, so that's kind of your story. You also have a family, correct?
I do. So I'm married. My wonderful husband, he's been my kind of my supporter during my craziness throughout my career for me to get to where I am today. And then I have 3 kids. I have twins that are 13 and my oldest is 14. So very busy household. Definitely the teenage years, are challenging.
Yeah.
But they do keep me busy. And today, they're very excited that I was going to be in a podcast. So let me just say that.
Were they giving you tips and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My girls were like, "You're going to be in a podcast? You got to say, welcome to the podcast." And I'm like, "I'm not the host," but they were so excited that I was doing something.
That's awesome. Fantastic. So you said you're now at Marine Corps Syscom. A lot of our audience is very heavily Navy side. So can you tell us just a little bit about Marine Corps Syscom and kind of what it is you guys do as a command?
Yeah, sure. So basically what our command does, we procure, we buy all of the ground weapon systems that the Marine Corps needs, all such as like the radars, the air defense technology. Now that we're getting into the Marine Corps, we actually stood up a program for that under the PEO land systems. We also all the comm systems and also all the vehicles, anything that the Marines drive around. We do the ACVs, the AAVs, so the JLTVs, so all of that falls under our portfolio. We also do all of the purchasing for the IT systems. Okay. And as well, anything the Marines wear, from their socks to their boots to their uniforms, we purchase as well. And also guns, ammunition, all of that. So basically anything that the Marines need to go fight the fight, basically, we procure it. And one thing is that I know for the Marine Corps, we are the only acquisition command for the entire Marine Corps. So all of the major programs that are considered ACAP programs fall under our portfolio, into PEOLS and all that. So basically pretty much everything the Marines need, we provide.
As a former Marine, I'm grateful. So
yay, I'm passionate about our mission.
That's fantastic. And I've actually got some upcoming recordings with McTissa.
Oh, great. Yes.
It's Marine Corps System Support Activity, Tactical Support Activity, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, and which is, how does McTissa's relationship to you guys? Is it like a warfare center? Is it
It's similar. So they're still within, kind of our umbrella. And basically, they have grown over the years. So you'll probably will hear from the lieutenant colonel, coming up. And they do a lot of the testing. For example, they've been such a critical role to our ACV program and the testing to get that vehicle out to those Marines that are needing it, as we're looking at future capabilities. So they just been very crucial to all of the programs within Syscom. So I know they're just a great part of the command that we've been able to grow over time.
That's excellent. All right. So, Johany, we're going to get down and dirty into contracts.
Oh, gosh.
Which for contracts people probably means a lot of whiteout. And I guess we're computer systems now.
You were good.
Do you use too much whiteout these days?
But you know what? I wouldn't put it past it, because I'll tell you, when I was working in NavAir, we still had a typewriter because there's some old contracts that we still had to do stuff. So it's interesting that you say that. We don't think about that nowadays, but yeah. I wouldn't put it past. There's still some out there.
Fantastic. So for the layman's person, mostly like myself, what does this do? Contracting officers, and what is like you do? Because you talked about Marine Corps Syscom, that you do the purchasing and acquisition and things. How does contracts fall into all of that?
Right. So the way that people should kind of consider contracts and the folks that are working, contracting officers, the contracting specialist. We are basically your business advisors to our customer, to the program managers of, trying to strategize and put together like contracting strategies that will kind of at the end goal get those program managers or customer to buy those capabilities. So we're talking about, it's not paper pushing, it's not they're just trying to do a transaction. It's more than that. We're actually part of the integrated product team, so the IPTs. We kind of dabble and dibble like pretty much all the different competencies. And at the end of the day, we have to be the face working with a contractor. We work with the program offices, developing the requirements, writing the requirements in a way that we can articulate it in our request for proposals, that when the industry or industry partners see these RFPs, that they can understand it, and then we are able to get good proposals back for the program. We also take part into the evaluation of that. We'll look at the cost. We'll, do all of the analysis and the calculations. We work with also our other partners, for example, DCMA, DCAA, price fighters in some instances. So we are basically the jack of all trades. I see myself of that. It's like we're in the middle, and then at the end game, we're the ones that kind of take it home. So then you have a contract, then you can execute our mission. So it's more than just it's not a clerical job. I know some people, make that comment, that is not the case. We're actually have a lot, of critical thinking that's required to do this job. Okay. And I think some people kind of just, don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know. So I know that I work very hard, and a lot of our contracting officers work very hard to kind of teach and kind of, take away that kind of assumption that people, when they hear contracts, what is it? So yeah, that's what it is in a nutshell.
Are there, and I really appreciate that. I think that's a great kind of overview, and more than I expected it was. I knew you weren't just a bunch of clerical type folks, but you don't know what you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And so I want to pull that thread a little bit. And are there some contract stereotypes besides being clerical that you guys kind of fight sometimes?
Yes, there is. For my contracts folks out there, you probably heard it, we're saying, contracts is the roadblock, right? Or, contracts what says, no, we can't get this done. And we fight very hard. And I think we try to be as part of the team, trying to find ways. And that's something that's myself as a leader, and as I've gone through my contracts career, the way forward when somebody comes to us, like, how can I get this on contract? It's not a no, right? That's not what we want to kind of put out there, because when people say no, that's when the roadblock stigma starts to develop, right? Yeah. But instead, what we should be doing, and the majority of us try to do this, is trying to find different COAs or different alternatives that we can provide to our customer to get from A to Z, right? Some are better than others. And, a lot of times as contracting officers, we might feel, okay, this first alternative is probably better and can get them there. But sometimes due to politics, funding, there's so many things that program managers have to kind of walk through, and look at as they're making these decisions, that we as contracting officers got to also take that into account when they make the, kind of the decision going forward. So that's one of the things and obstacles I think that people kind of say when they hear contracts. But, the majority, and if you talk to a lot of contracting officers, we're here to help. At the end of the day, all of us, even if we're not wearing the uniform, we are still civilians supporting, a great mission for our country, for the war fighters. So we still want to get something out there and not be a roadblock.
And I think that's great. And I can feel and see your passion come through the screen.
Thank you. Is that Puerto Rican? I expressive. I can't help it.
There we go. So is there one type of contract, or is there do you just have the same contract you use for everything? And I'm going to throw some words out there like FAR, non-FAR based.
Yes, there's all different types of different contracts. We have FAR-based contracts, and then right now, you will hear a lot about non-FAR-based contracts. For example, in regards to streamline acquisitions, we're talking about OTAs, and I think you've done a podcast on OTAs. That right now is kind of the flavor, the thing that's going out there of trying to see where we can use these OTAs, to get to those limited productions. We've had some successes in that. Right now, we're trying to go forward some on the production side. I think we'll be one of the first few within the Navy and Marine Corps to go down that route. And I think it was PM Traces down in Florida. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to push that and get that first production. I'm sorry?
With an OTA, you said?
Yes, it's an OTA. So we're trying to get there and, try to open up new doors and kind of a lot of lessons learned that I'm going to share with my counterparts in the Navy as well as I go forward. But we're excited. But yes, there's so many, like within FAR-based. I mean, I don't know if you want the whole list, but we can go down. But yes, there's quite a bit. And this is my thing. When people talk about, what contract type PMs, right? When they come to us, like, what should we do? I think it depends. It depends on what we're buying, depends on what's happening in the program, depends on the funding, because the FAR does have pretty much give us an ability to get to where we need to. So it's just dependent on the requirement.
Well, and that's something that is highlighted in the OTA episode that we did was they are the hot candy right now. Everyone's like, oh, give me some OTA. Yeah. And a lot of it is because, they just go fast, but they're not designed to buy staplers faster. They're designed to do innovation quicker and things like that. And so I think it's important to note, and you kind of highlight, I'm just reiterating it. There's not one contract for everything. You're using the contract based on the need.
Absolutely.
How often do you get contracts is so slow?
Pretty much at least once a day now. I'm just kidding. Yes. I think throughout my whole career, and a lot of people, I mean, I bet everybody that you've known from contracts has probably said they've heard it at some point or multiple times. So we hear quite often. We're here quite often. I'll tell you, and talk about stories and all that. I had gone into a new program at one time. And, I was already hearing horror stories, supposedly the PM, and, he doesn't like contracts. Contracts are slow. We can't get there. And I'm like, holy moly, I'm going in petrified already at this time. So I went prepared. I sat with a PM and kind of showed him. And again, it's more of what you don't know, right? So going in, being prepared, showing them the benefits that it does to the PM, how we can go faster, how myself as a contracting officer is trying to look for ways to go, quote unquote, faster or do things, currently so we can get to a faster award. So I think a lot of times it's the communication of getting that. But yeah, I hear that all the time.
So I think that's fantastic. And I love the story because I think everyone can identify, whether it's contracts or anything, of something that's feels like it's gotten in their way. And like you said earlier, you're not trying to get in people's way. You are trying to help. You have a mission, and you and contract officers like you want to achieve that mission. You're very passionate about the Marine Corps and the Marines, getting them their new stocks, as you talked about.
Yay.
And so I absolutely just love that, because I think that's what it comes down to. And that's what I've been trying to share with these podcasts, is there are some extremely smart, passionate people out there, and more than you got lucky and you get to be my representative for the contract community.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of great contracts officers out there doing hard work, because it is time consuming. Everything I know about contracts, which is about not barely any at all, I can fit it on my pinky finger, is that it takes time. And especially and this is where I've heard, they're so slow, usually because you're brought in very late.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've experienced that. Like, hey, you got to
Yes.
hurry. We need it in a week. Can't do it in a week.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one key thing. And thank you for bringing that up is, bring us in early as possible into the process. I mean, that's why we work in the Navy and the Marine Corps in contracts. The majority, we work in IPTs. And the reason is to work together to do that. So the sooner you bring in your contracting officers, your contracting specialists, the better it's going to be, because then we can able to help you to get to those sometimes very aggressive contract timelines that you're requiring.
Yeah.
So great point on that. Absolutely.
So what else do people need to know about contracts, contracting officers? Do you guys just sit around like looking at paper all day? You've told us no. You told us you've told us you're pretty aggressive and you're like on the front lines getting that done. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are. No. So, we do spend a lot of time with the requirements development. That's one thing I want to say. We want to help and assist to make sure that our Marines and, the Navy, the Marine Corps gets what they need, because we are a naval enterprise, right? So we kind of have to work together. And the work and dedication, and you'll see the contracting professional usually are the one, they'll be, if you need something, yes, it might gripe because it might get it last minute, but I'll let you know that they will work extra hours, weekends, and then close to that end of fiscal year. I mean, they're there like day and night. And the dedication that our workforce shows is just tremendous. So that's what I want to get across, is that they do care. They might be upset because, like you said, if they're brought in at the last minute, like, we need a contract next week, the period of performance is ending, what do we do? Which we get quite a bit of that. Yes, it might get upset, but at the end of the day, they'll roll up their sleeves and they'll execute it.
That's fantastic. That's excellent to hear. Is the end of the fiscal year like the Super Bowl to you guys?
Oh, yes. People say to their families, you won't see me. This year was kind of interesting because, with COVID, we were all teleworking. Yeah. So it was very different. So I think a lot of their family got to see it, and they got to probably see their family more than they would have seen them previously. But yeah, that's our Super Bowl, because we have to obligate those funds. They're about to expire, and we're not going to let that happen if we can.
So let's talk about, and I think that's great. And really just to hear the dedication, not only in your voice, but as you share the stories of others and the ones you've worked, contract officers you've worked around and with, and the ones you lead, because you lead 260. How many did you say?
248.
248. That's incredible. And those aren't all in the same building.
No, they're all over. We have folks in Florida and Traces. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and then we have some out in California for McTissa. And then the majority are between here, and then we have some folks in Maryland as well. So we're kind of located throughout the country. But, I stay tuned with them and try to be connected as much as I can.
That's excellent. That's great. So you're already familiar with working with distributed teams.
Absolutely.
A lot of people had to learn this year.
Yeah. Yes. One key thing is to me, since I've taken over and kind of having that, dispersed team, is keeping that connection to the flagpole, making sure that they know that, we care about them, and they are also a critical part, of why we're successful. So I really try hard to keep that lines of communication, up and down the chain for those groups.
That's incredible. And I think that's excellent advice. I think not only with what you're doing in contracts, but whatever anyone is working on, it's a lot harder for people to know what you're doing when they can't see you or in the building or on the regular things. So I want to call something out, and you can punch me later. Okay. One of the most common things that I've ever heard, and I know you have, is people complain because of acquisitions and contracting in the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the government. And they use the reference that it takes 2 to 3 months to buy a stapler. I know you've heard this.
Yeah.
Is there, and I'm not calling you out on that specifically. How can people, what is the best way for people to get the things they need related to contracting officers? You spoke to a little bit earlier about bringing in early. What if they don't know how and who to bring in? How can people connect to you to get what they need? And not just you, but contract officers in general.
So, I think, so a lot of the main thing that kind of drives our timeline to contract award, and as I've been in different commands, I've been in different programs, has been to get the requirement. So it's not necessarily once it gets into contract, the execution of the contract is actually getting the documentation telling industry what we need.
Oh, okay.
So that is the number one thing that I personally have seen, and when I've gone out and asked folks is trying to nail down what that requirement is. So going in and talking to your contracting officers early, I think that's a critical part of that because it can kind of guide you.
As they do that, are there blanket things that people can do before they're approaching their contracts officers, like to have things ready?
Yeah. So I think one of the things is the market research. I think that's crucial, right? Market research, reaching out to industry partners to see what's out there, because and that's required, right? We're required to do that. And a good market research. It's not just, let me go on the internet, do a little bit of, because I've seen those. I went to the internet and Google said, but I think the a little bit more time that folks spend on that front end and engage industry. And that is also something that the contracting officers can help you, because we can post out RFIs, industry days on Beta SAM. And that's where we post our information and start engaging industry early. So when they're developing their statements of work or performance work statements or their SUs, that whoever in the program office is responsible for that can actually have more definite, quote unquote, requirements that then they can finish or complete those documentations faster of then being able to get a good proposal and good contractors. So that's one of the recommendations is that early engagement, that market research, which contract does take part into that, because you're going to have to kind of work with us to get the word out there to industry. So that's one of the documents, your market research report, and making sure that you do that legwork, because it's going to help you finish to getting a better package, a better requirements document, that then your contracting officers, your contracted specialists can kind of go out there. And it also helps us not having to amend, because that's the other thing. If our requirements is posted and industry says, I have no idea what you're doing, it can also, make our length to contract requirement longer, because we're going to have to amend it. Then we're going to have to redo it. And sometimes ends up canceling it. So that front end and that first step, I think is very crucial.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. What about from the other side? Is there and maybe the answer is just be available, but from we have a rather decently large industry audience, folks that are out there, not in the government. Is there things that they can do to make it easier as they're working with contracting officers?
Yeah, one thing that I would recommend, and I've recommended this before when we've kind of had some industry engagements for the command, has been when you see RFIs that are being posted, respond to them.
What's an RFI?
When you're requests for information, and that's when we go out to industry and say, hey, we are thinking about doing X. And that's, industry's chance to come back to us and say, okay, I can do X, Y, and Z through a capability statements. Sometimes when we are requesting the capability statements, industry might give us maybe the pamphlet or like a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And then that's not helpful, because then what that does is it narrows down our ability to say, okay, we can probably compete this. because if only one guy comes in. So again, my encouragement to industry is really pay attention to the request from information, respond to it, and give pretty good capability statements that then our folks can take that and be able to, come up with strategies in which you can compete, because then we see there is competition out there. And then also pay attention to a lot of our industry engagement events that we have within command. I'm now trying to work and stand up a quarterly event in which I'm going to have my contracts lead have engagement with industry to kind of talk about the requests for information that are coming out, talk about when RFPs are coming out, a little bit more detail than I think we have in the past, and working with our program offices. So then we can get that better, responses and engagement that can kind of help us address some of our requirements.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I appreciate that. For anyone that's new out there listening, or newer companies, smaller companies, when you're saying watch for RFIs, are there sites that people can look on? Is it just the Marine Corps Syscom site? Where do they go for those?
They go to Beta SAM.
Beta SAM. Okay.
And then, yes, and they can register actually to get notices as well as things are getting posted there. Do encourage that. We also have on the Marine Corps Systems Command website, the small business site as well. The director for small business for us, he does a very good job about posting information. And we also have a long range acquisition plan that we forecast for every year, of the requirements that are coming. So I do encourage them to visit those sites and let us know how we can help.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. And I'm sure someone out there does too.
Yes.
So let's talk about Johany again. You've got some kids you've talked about earlier before we started recording. How are your TikTok dance skills?
According to my daughter, I need help, but I'm trying. Yes, I'm trying. There's some difficult ones, and I'm like, I don't even know if these are moves anymore, but okay.
It's funny to see, and not funny, but interesting to see how we've changed so much on how people consume information. And
Yes.
Even you said they're 13 and 14, your kids are, and they all were excited you were on a podcast.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't realize kids that age knew what podcasts were.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they're very excited. They think it's the best thing since sliced bread, I say. But yeah, they were very excited.
Excellent. Well, we're happy to give the Deal family some street cred. Give you some mom cred. Yeah. And so, Johany, we've talked a lot about contracts, Marine Corps Syscom, what contracts officers do, how people can work with you, things they can bring to the table, both government side, industry side. What about Johany yourself? Has there been lessons you've learned, and whether it's related to contracting or just as a civil servant over the years, that you'd be willing to share with folks?
Yeah. So one of the things I have learned is, to kind of not take things personal, I think, in a way. We deal with a lot of people in leadership positions that have a very stressful jobs. They have a lot of people pulling at them, ourselves as well, from the politics to the money to everything. So over time, I've had to learn kind of like breathe, kind of think through things before sometimes I take action on it. And, the contract folks that I do mentor, they're like, oh, but, they made me so mad. I'm like, take a breath. It'll be okay. At the end of the day, I think everybody has the same goal. So just making sure that, stay with a even keel as much as we can and not be reactive, but actually, when we do respond and when we do have our stressful situations, kind of, be as kind of level set as much as we can. But my main thing is also finding a life balance. Try. Yeah. It's hard for me because my personality. I have a personality that I just want to, as you can tell, probably. I want to say, you need help? I'm going to help you. You need this? So I'm usually like that. but I do got to tell myself there has to be a life work balance in a way, and having that time for yourself mentally and also for your family. Because for me, family is number one. And I think for many of us too, that we find that.
Yeah. Has it been harder to keep that life balance with telework?
Oh, yes. I find myself working extra hours. I don't find myself because once I got in the car, then I'm like, okay, it could be, I could have that kind of break, right? When I would leave the office. But now is, hey, I leave my home office. I go to the living room, got to take care of the kids. Somebody calls, I got to go back in. So next thing I know, it's 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And sometimes I'm still grinding away. So it's been very hard. It's been very hard.
Well, I can tell from talking to you before and now, you put a lot of passion into your family and time, which is important. I think at the end of the day, the amazing work you do as a contracting officer and the director of contracts is also important, but family is important. So I think I love that you identify with that and do that. Anything else you want to share with folks, Johany? This is your chance to tell the world, whether it's get you don't want to end this episode and then have all your contracting officers watch it or listen to it and be like, oh, you didn't mention this. Come on.
No. Okay. So on that case, I do want to send a big thank you, to our contract folks in American Systems Command. They've done an amazing job. And I think throughout the Navy and Marine Corps, so it's not just us. I know they're very dedicated. And I know all of us, even my counterparts, do appreciate everything that you guys do. So I do want to say that shout out to the folks, right? And what I do want to leave with people on contracts, again, what I said in the beginning, I just want to reiterate that we're here to help, that we are here to be that person to get you to the mission, because all of us are very passionate about it. Because it's not just the paper that we're thinking about. It's not just getting the contract done. At the end of the day, what we're doing every single day is helping those, Marines and those sailors out there. They're actually fighting the fight for us. And that's what we have to keep, in our brains every single day, even when we're exhausted or stressed out. And that's what I do myself. So that's what I want to share.
That's fantastic. That's excellent. And I appreciate even more that you appreciate everyone around you. So That's excellent. And we got to give a shout out to Miss Jamie Reese, of course.
Yes. Shout out.
How we got connected.
Yes. Shout out to Miss Reese. She is wonderful and fantastic. Great, great leader that we're lucky to have her within the Navy enterprise, because she's a wonderful leader.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, everyone I hope you guys have learned things. I've learned a lot from you, Johany, not only about contracts, but also that reiterating the importance of family and everything that we do. So I do appreciate that. If you guys are really interested in more in what contracting officers do and probably more in the FAR, the non-FAR, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Maybe there's a place for having more episodes or different episodes that are deeper into we could talk for hours on what those are, I'm sure. But also I am working with Johany to in the next few months do a contracting panel, and we have some folks from across the Navy and the Marine Corps. Johany's going to be one of them. And she's helping coordinate it, because that's what happens when you're awesome.
Great.
So Johany, I really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on. And now you've got some mom podcast street credentials on your belt.
That's right. Hey.
Fantastic.
Yes. Hopefully I won't embarrass them too much. I'll tell them.
Oh, I think the only way to embarrass them would probably do some of your bad TikTok moves.
Oh gosh. On the next one.
Next one. There we go. Excellent. Well, hey, thanks again, Johany. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I think you've been a fantastic representative of the contracting world and Marine Corps Syscom, because we have not done much with that yet. So now we can do more.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. See you, everyone. Have a great day. Perfect. How do you feel?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did I do for my first?
You did awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Your energy was high. You're happy. You're everything you talked about. It was great. You picked up everything I was trying to throw down. So
Yay. So I didn't let Miss Reese down. Good.
not at all. No, she told me you're a ball of fire, and you proved that. So
Good. Good. Yeah. Well, let me know when you guys want to touch base. I know to get the board and kind of what you guys want, so then I can get some folks and get that
okay.
coordinated.
Okay, perfect. Can we record a quick video?
Oh, okay.
So I'm still recording, but
Okay.
we're gonna do just a quick, because it's how I can use an intro to upcoming episode. Like,
Okay.
who you are, what do you do as a or what your role is, Marine Corps Syscom, whatever, like 60, 90 seconds, pretty quick.
So just the introduction of myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'll ask you, so I'll intro us. You don't have to like do it cold.
Okay.
What's going on, NavalX community? Contracting officers are important. And I have the director of contracts for Marine Corps Syscom, Johany Deal. What's up, Johany?
What's up, Matt? How are you? Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to have you. And coming up soon, we have an podcast episode coming out about contracting officers, how you guys are using it in Marine Corps Syscom. But as a teaser, what did we talk about in the episode to get people excited?
So we talked about what was contracting, and also what different kind of things we've heard over time of what contracting is. So trying to make sure that people really get to know the true contracts. What is that? So this episode is very exciting. Hopefully you guys get a lot out of it, from the contracts field to other government folks and even to industry. So I'm excited.
Fantastic. And a little bit about Johany. Are you awesome?
A little bit about me. Yes, I'm awesome. Just a little bit about me. I'm just, like Matt said, I'm the director of contracts here at Marine Corps Systems Command, with the acquisition command for the Marine Corps, trying to buy everything that the Marines wear, drives, all the weapon systems, ground weapon systems that they need to make the mission and to support our country.
Fantastic. Well, hey, thanks, Johany, and I'm excited to share out our upcoming episode.
I'm excited too. Thank you.
Right. See you, everyone.